building right there in the pool, and it's going to come up as allowed by code about 75 feet, and have the core on the east, and have the views to the west towards the water, and that's what we are proposing to do here. What we will also do is, in order to get square footage, because existing buildings have low ceilings, we are looking to carve out some of the floor plates and put the available square footage, which is arguably in a weak inferior location on the contributing building and located in the new building, which will be a multifamily residential condominium.
Multifamily residential condominium. Would it be a hotel condo or just a multifamily condo?
You can do either or, whatever you like.
What would be our, what can we exploit the density? Right now we have what, a 48 and a 20. We have 68, and you're saying we could add an additional tower where the pool is?
Yeah, so right now, what's the total FAR, John, that we have available on this site?
Yeah, 2.0 you have.
And how big is the land?
25, 26?
So you're allowed 50, if the total land is 25, you're allowed 50,000 square feet.
Correct.
How big are the existing buildings?
We are over FAR on the existing.
Yeah, how much?
So one is 18,000. The other one doesn't show up in the property search.
Dave, did you
but
send him the
it's
condo
probably
docs?
30,000 minimum.
No, I did. I sent him what I had. I think I did. I gotta check.
Okay, so anyway, we can do that math, right? But essentially, we're gonna take out every other floor out of the
Just send him
existing
code again. I
buildings
don't know why he's having it.
and put it into the new building.
So there's only 3 floors, I think, in these buildings, so you'd be taking out just 1 floor.
Right.
Do you guys want to do any live local action or what?
What's that?
You want to do any live local action?
There's no live local action in Miami Beach.
Okay.
The
So,
best thing to do is go with what's allowed as of right, as per code, and do a condo hotel, and do a massing analysis for you on that property. That's the best thing to do.
Well, let me ask, why do you say that you can't do live local on Miami Beach?
You can speak, we'll put you together with a land use lawyer of your preference.
Well, no, I am the land use lawyer, and I've done this analysis for other clients.
I can't believe Kobi. Kobi, you don't know Ian
Sorry, forgive
Bacheikov. He's at Ackerman. He's a really awesome guy. I'm sorry. I apologize to interrupt you.
I did not know he was
Introduce
on
you.
the phone. He's not an awesome guy. He's the best guy that knows live local because he put live local into the code, which is, which we're all very grateful for. But right now in Miami Beach, if you're trying to sell this property, you can tell me how it is that I can do. I would love to do a live local 150 feet and put in 40% and 60%.
Yeah, no, they would give you up to 150% of max FAR, and max FAR in the city right now, anywhere in the city, is 3.5. So you
Right.
could potentially get up to a 5.25 FAR if you did live local. I don't know that you get too much more height because of the height around. So we'd have to.
No, we can get height because I think within 1,000-foot radius, we
Within a
have the
mile.
convention. Huh?
Within a mile.
Yeah, I'm sorry, forgive me. Within a mile radius, we have the convention center and other buildings that have
Okay.
been approved at a certain height. Yeah, we can do a live local
So there would
study
be
for you.
there would be
Share
some
that.
height and FAR to potentially be had here. There wouldn't be any parking reductions, but there is potential for height and FAR.
That's fine. We can accommodate the parking in a few ways. Plus, we have the existing non-contributing building, which would not need any parking. But if you feel comfortable in us getting the live local, that would be the Hail Mary. That would be the best thing we can do. Let's do it into that direction for sure.
Would you need any other type of entitlements, like any setback waivers, variances, really anything else to do the design you'd want to do there?
I don't know. I need to do that.
What is this zoned?
Local.
John?
RM2.
Mark Tress, how you doing? We got Kobi Karp, Ian Bacheikov, Kobi Karp's team. Thank you for joining us. Mark's the owner of the property, gentlemen. Thanks for helping us out with this assignment.
Alrighty, so what do we got here?
Well, we're debating whether we have an angle on something called the Live Local Act, which would increase the density, but it has its challenges and hasn't been successfully. I don't know, Ian. Has there been any success stories on the beach
yet?
yet?
Miami Beach yet. The one person that was going to was, I think, more using it as a tactic to try and deal with the city over at the Cleveland. Or I don't think they ever actually had an intent to actually use it. They just wanted to scare the city. But I have had several clients reach out to me, and we've done the analysis on what they could potentially do. So far, it hasn't really been feasible for any of them because they've got existing structures that would need to be demolished and rebuilt to take advantage of it. But I don't know exactly what you're planning on doing here, but I was just saying, based on what the statute says and what the city's code is, there is a potential here to get as high as a 5.25 FAR and height based on the maximum height permitted within a mile, which our architect just mentioned was the convention center. I can't remember off the top of my head how many stories they got though.
Right.
The convention center hotel, right?
Convention center is 200 residential, 300 hotel in the code, but Ian knows better, obviously.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look.
Otherwise, we're kind of maxed out on the FAR on the current site with the density.
We are currently over FAR on the current building.
So that means that we wouldn't be able to add any additional square footage.
Yeah, that's what
That's
means.
correct.
Okay. So unless we're able to execute a live local execution strategy, the highest and best use is what's there, and we would have to sell it just the way it is.
No, I think that the highest and best use is to sell condos in that location, convert the existing buildings to condos, and whatever square footage you have, whether it's live local or not. Because if you can do the live local, then that's your Hail Mary. That's great, because then you can do the live local in the existing buildings, and then you can do the non-live local in the new construction.
Well, I guess the question is what's worth more to you, because hotel and lodging uses are also main permitted uses here. So whether it's residential or hotel, I don't know from a business standpoint what would garner a higher rate.
Guys,
I guess that was the reason why I introduced Mark to you guys, was so that we could figure out all the potential options, and then we could underwrite what would be the highest and best use and what would be the most fiscally profitable scenario.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, by the way, if you're doing a hotel, you can't do live local. It has
That's
to
my
be
question,
residential.
rental also, right?
Yeah, rental. You'd basically be doing an apartment building if you did live local.
Between you and me, Mark, it's kind of like taking a step backwards on the live local, because then we have to implement a level of affordability, and I think just by pure current zoning, I don't know if it's the smartest strategy, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so there's two aspects there, right? So it would be limited to 120% of average median income, which this part of Miami Beach is probably pretty high. So I don't know how much of a hit you'd be taking on having to do reduced rents at that basis. My only concern is because it's an RM3 and the only permitted uses are residential and lodging, whether or not the city would try and take a stance that this is not a mixed use zone, that it's a residential zone. I think they would be hard pressed to do that because lodging uses are commercial, they're not residential. So for them to make that argument, I think would be in bad faith, and that live local should absolutely be permitted here. But again, because nobody's done it in the city before, we don't know how hard they'll push back on it if we did propose something like that.
Right.
Question. I thought that the city of Miami Beach approved certain terminology after the live local came in.
Yeah, and they have their own. They've had several discussion items. They want to try and figure out something that would work as kind of like a compromise to live local. But the fact is, live local preempts local government, so whatever they're doing would be separate and different from what live local offers. It's just the way that it was implemented at the state level.
Got it.
Ian, if we place a tower in the middle, how would setbacks work between two lots? Can we assume it's one lot, or?
Are they unified?
No.
No, then there you'd have to have a setback in the RM3.
No, but why can't we unify them first?
Well, if you own them, if they're commonly owned, they could potentially be unified as long as they don't exceed a maximum lot size. If there is a maximum lot size in the RM3. I'm pulling up the zoning code so I can take a look at that. I see a minimum lot size.
RM2. You can be there in RM2.
RM2 or RM3?
Yeah.
It's RM2? Okay, sorry.
RM2, yeah.
Are both LLCs the same, Mark?
No, but they can be in another deal. I could just do a little new lot merger.
As long as there's no debt or mortgages, it would be easy, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like there's only minimum lot size. I don't see a maximum. The maximum's only as to height. And the setbacks, if they're not unified, it does look like there is a setback on the sides. Depending on the width, it's either 5 or 10 feet, or actually maybe even 7.5 feet. For a tower, let's see, same as the pedestal, setback. For lots less than 65 feet length, 7.5 feet, or if greater than 65 foot width, then 10 feet or 8% of the lot width, whichever's greater. So yeah, you'd want them unified to avoid a side setback between the lot lines.
For sure. Yeah, that would make the most amount of sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So what is the general thought here?
How long would the live local process take theoretically if we were to execute?
What is the timing on that?
Well, we'd have to do an initial analysis, and that we can do pretty quickly within a few weeks. But if you went the live local route, the state actually requires an expedited permitting process. So you have to, I don't really know how much faster it would be, but you'd have to take that into account in the overall analysis that if you qualify for live local and did a live local project that otherwise met all the other requirements of the city's code, they'd have to expedite a building permit through their building department for you.
Mark, I guess we could talk about it. I guess it's two different buyer pools. The hospitality market today, in general, condo debt or hospitality debt in general is I guess if we're gonna do any work is probably a little more expensive than multifamily debt. Multifamily debt's cheaper, but it would also require us to go to the historic board because we would have to demo some of those buildings and maybe just shore them up and maybe use some of the facade. It would be an extensive process to potentially get live local. And then another challenge we would have is we would have a parking requirement. And I don't know if Indian Creek is a transit oriented corridor or
Not.
So I think we're going to have a major parking issue on live local, even if we were able to get more density. So as I begin to scratch my head, I think Kobi's idea initially was just to go ahead and reinvent these buildings might be the smartest strategy. Adding, otherwise we're gonna have I don't know where the parking's gonna go.
Yeah, if you did live local, the only way that I think really makes sense is if you're able to actually demolish and rebuild it all. If it's historic, then that's going to create an issue. I didn't even ask about that, but
Yes.
yeah, and if
Yeah,
whether
they're
They're
historic.
both,
They're both-
contributing.
They're both.
yeah, so that'll be very difficult to make live local worth the while, because you basically have to find a way to build without destroying the historic components, and that's not going to be so easy, let alone to get it approved by the HPB. You would have to go to the HPB first, and again, the parking is the issue. Typically for live local, you're going to see a huge pedestal with all the parking beneath the tower. And if you can't do that because of the historic structures, that will create an issue with trying to do live local, which would make sense to try and figure out a way to utilize the existing buildings under the existing code without live local.
They can purchase parking for 40,000 a piece, right? If they want to.
Yeah, or pay annually, which is
I
quite a
think
bit
it's $600
per parking space. Yeah, it's that gets very expensive because it would require a lot of parking spaces.
Why is there a parking
If you're simply renovating the existing structure,
majority of
I
hotels
don't know
don't
that
have.
it's going to create any additional parking.
Besides that, the majority. Give me 5 minutes. The majority of places don't even have parking over there.
That's right.
I mean, look
The
along the
historic
beach.
buildings
There's no
don't
historically
need to
there's no
have
parking.
parking.
I mean, the Faina Hotel has no parking. I mean, neither does the addition.
They provided parking in other ways. They built a parking garage across the street, things like that.
No, that's not there. The parking lot is a municipal lot. We use it as well. That's not theirs. I mean, the addition has no parking. The Faina has no parking. There's that one hotel on the beach over there that has parking.
They probably were under the 50% rule when they did the renovation.
Oh, the Faina Hotel, how can you be on the federal? It's 400 keys.
Somehow it didn't trigger a parking requirement. I don't know why. Maybe somebody on this phone call knows that. I mean, they don't.
One of my partners, Nisa and Kazan, handled that one, and it was a while ago. I don't remember how he handled the parking, but I know that they came up with something.
Maybe they paid into the parking fund. I mean, I guess when you're selling units at that price per foot, you can make the maths make sense.
Well, I think the developer, Alan, had plenty of money to spend and wanted exactly what he wanted, so I think that was a little different.
I'm just saying, the majority of hotels, you go from 5th Street straight up till the almost till the Fontainebleau. There are no parking in any of those hotels. Zero.
Well, the historic ones usually do have some parking, but it's not a lot. Like the one hotel has a whole lot of surplus parking, so they actually rent it out to valet companies who park several other hotels nearby within their garage. So that's how it's done. They find parking, or they pay for the parking, or they build the parking. But when it's historic, whatever parking that was there is usually sufficient that they don't require additional parking.
Okay, so bottom line, so just make sure we're on the same page. What is the suggestion over here?
I mean, listen, Mark. I mean, I think the suggestion is that it's an as-is deal. It's 2 historic buildings that are contributing, and that if there was some sort of renovation to take place, it would be incorporating the 2 buildings with the. I think maybe the one thing that we could do is on the 3003, which is the south building, which is currently under renovation and, it's gutted. Maybe that was historically a multifamily building. So maybe 3003, we can exploit and get more hospitality units in that structure as opposed to the original 20 multifamilies. Maybe the idea is that we can double the density on hospitality in that building. And hopefully it doesn't trigger any other parking. So if we can get 40, we got 18,000 square feet in that building, or 16,000. I don't know who has adjusted, but what's the minimum hotel size, Ian or Zial or Kobe, for a hotel there? Can we exploit that on 16,000? Can we assume that we do 300 square foot units, maybe get 50 units there, maybe get 45 units, hotel rooms? I mean, not units.
The minimum unit size, you can go down to 300 square feet for 15% of the units, but at least 85% of them have to be at least 335 square feet.
Okay, so 335 divided by 16,000, or 16,000, which is our adjusted. So maybe approximately 47 units. So we have we currently have a 48 unit site, which is the northmost building at 3025, and the southmost building, if we can get 42 units over there, we'd be at a total of 90 hospitality units amongst both properties.
Which is what we have right now, essentially, right? We have 46 and a right to do another 30, 46. Yeah. We're right there. Yeah.
That's listen, without going before historic, before going, the city for site plan approval, and then determining, what the parking is, and putting together a massing study, and going through all these exercises. It's like I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's that's the strategy. I think the strategy is to exploit what's there.
And that's this guy that wants to do a cool hotel concept. Maybe he has two buildings, like two little mini twin towers. He puts something cool in the middle. He dresses it up and calls it a day. He has 90 keys on one corner on the creek. He has a little common area shared in the middle. So he has two buildings and a common area in the middle. That's probably the only solution over here.
That's realistic, Mark.
Alrighty. So we don't need to thank everybody for joining the call. Let's talk later on. Let's figure this out.
Ian, Kobe, the whole team. I'm gonna get together with Mark, and we'll figure out if there's any other ways. I appreciate your time and support, and we'll get back to you shortly.
Always. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
We'll wait for your call. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry I was late for you.
You're okay, brother.